The first thing they teach you in neurosurgical nursing is to never confuse silence for peace. A quiet operating room doesn't mean everything is fine. It usually means everyone is holding their breath. On February 9th, 2024, I learned that silence can feel louder than a code blue. My name is Emily Rhodes. I worked as a surgical nurse at Mountain View General Hospital in Denver, Colorado, for 12 years. I resigned last month. I used to believe that medicine could explain anything if you looked hard enough, if you ran the right labs, checked the right scans, and trusted the science. I don't believe that anymore. Mountain View General isn't a large hospital, but it's busy. We handle a mix of trauma cases from the mountain highways and complex neurological surgeries referred from rural hospitals across the region. I'd been part of the neurosurgical team for 8 years, assisting in everything from spinal decompressions to aneurysm clippings. But the case that ended my career didn't involve anything unusually difficult, at least it wasn't supposed to. The patient's name was Daniel Ruiz, a 35-year-old firefighter from Colorado Springs. He'd been injured during a rescue operation in an apartment fire. A beam collapsed, striking him in the head and shoulder. Paramedics found him conscious, but disoriented, complaining of severe headache and blurred vision. A CT scan at the local ER revealed a subdural hematoma, bleeding beneath the dura mater, the protective layer around the brain. He was airlifted to our hospital for emergency surgery to relieve the pressure. When Daniel arrived in the holding area that night, he was pale, agitated, but still responsive. "Just don't let me die in there," he said as we prepped him for surgery. I'd heard those words 100 times, but something about the way he said it, slow, deliberate, almost calm, made me look up from the chart. He was staring straight at me, like he knew something I didn't. "We won't," I told him. "You're in good hands." Dr. Michael Harland, our attending neurosurgeon, was leading the case. He was one of those physicians who operated with machine-like precision, calm, efficient, never flustered. Our anesthesiologist was Dr. Priya Nand, quiet but brilliant, with a reputation for managing even the most unstable patients. The rest of the team included Dr. Aaron Lee, our neurosurgical fellow, and Maya Torres, another nurse who'd been on my team for 5 years. The procedure was routine by neurosurgical standards, a right-sided craniotomy to evacuate the hematoma. Daniel's vitals were stable on arrival, heart rate 92, BP1 2678, oxygen saturation 98% on supplemental oxygen. His pupils were equal and reactive, though sluggish. At 9:42 p.m., Dr. Nand began anesthesia induction. Everything proceeded normally: propofol, fentanyl, rocuronium for paralysis. Daniel's eyelids fluttered, then closed. His body went still. The monitors showed predictable changes: lowered heart rate, slowed respiration, steady EEG activity transitioning to the flattened waves of unconsciousness. "Ready for incision," Dr. Harlan said at 9:58. Everything about that moment felt ordinary. But 15 minutes later, I noticed something strange. Daniel's EEG, a line that normally dips into a gentle rhythm during deep anesthesia, suddenly went flat. Completely flat. "Dr. Nand, we're losing EEG activity," I said quietly, glancing at the monitor. She looked up immediately. "That's impossible. He's still perfusing. Check his pulse ox." It was fine. 98%. Blood pressure normal. Heart rhythm steady. But his brain activity, the one thing that defines whether someone is truly alive or not, had vanished. "Could be artifact," Dr. Lee suggested. "Maybe the lead slipped." I rechecked them myself. Secure. Perfect contact. No interference. "No," I said. "It's real." Dr. Nand frowned, adjusting the anesthesia depth. "Let's back off slightly. Maybe he's too deep." But even as she reduced the dosage, the EEG remained a flat, lifeless line. Dr. Harland hesitated with his scalpel hovering over Daniel's scalp. "Do we have cortical silence?" "Yes," Dr. Nand said softly. "He's showing complete cortical inactivity. But his cardiovascular and respiratory systems are fully stable. There's no sign of brainstem failure." "So his body's functioning, but his brain isn't?" I asked. "Essentially," she said. "Medically speaking, he shouldn't be alive right now." Dr. Harland exhaled. We proceed. We have no choice. At 10:07 p.m., he made the initial incision. From the outside, everything looked routine. The scalp peeled back cleanly, the bone flap lifted without incident. But something about the atmosphere in the room had shifted. The air felt heavy, like the silence had weight. 20 minutes later, as Dr. Harland was evacuating the hematoma, I felt my stomach tighten. Daniel's body, completely paralyzed and unresponsive, let out a single, long exhale. Not a reflex, not air escaping the lungs, but a deliberate breath, the kind you make when trying to calm yourself. Did anyone see that? I whispered. Dr. Lee nodded slowly. That wasn't residual air movement. It can't be voluntary, Dr. Nan said, her voice shaking slightly. His diaphragm is completely relaxed under paralysis. Dr. Harland paused his suctioning. Check the anesthesia depth again. Normal, she said. He's pharmacologically paralyzed. There's no motor function possible. And yet, less than a minute later, Daniel's fingers twitched. Subtle, but unmistakable. Every head in the room turned toward his hand. That's not residual, I said. That's controlled. Dr. Harland stared at the motion, scalpel frozen midair. How can he move if the neuromuscular blockade is active? Dr. Nand checked the monitors again. The drugs are in full effect. His nervous system shouldn't even be sending motor signals. Then Daniel's voice, soft, breathy, impossible, filled the room. Please, keep going. Maya dropped the instrument she was holding. It clattered across the sterile field. Did he? Dr. Lee started. Yes, I said, barely able to breathe. He spoke. Dr. Nan's hand trembled as she leaned over the anesthesia machine. That's impossible. His vocal cords are paralyzed. But Daniel spoke again. Louder this time. Don't stop. I'm still here. Dr. Harland looked at me. Is this some kind of artifact? Is someone projecting sound through the intercom? No, doctor, I said, my voice cracking. That's him. The monitors showed no signs of consciousness. No muscle activity. No EEG waves. By every medical definition, Daniel Ruiz had no brain function. But his body was speaking. Dr. Nan's voice was shaking now. He's under total cortical silence. There's no measurable neural activity. Whatever's happening, it's not coming from his brain. Then where the hell is it coming from? Dr. Harland asked. None of us had an answer. Over the next 20 minutes, Daniel continued to communicate in fragmented sentences, his voice monotone but purposeful. Pressure, left temporal, slowing. Bleeding stopped, don't touch the vein near the fissure. You're close, stop now. Each time he spoke, Dr. Harland verified his surgical landmarks, and every statement Daniel made was correct. He was describing the procedure as if he were watching from above. At 10:47 p.m., Dr. Lee whispered, It's like he's guiding the surgery. Dr. Harland didn't respond, but his hands were trembling slightly. When the hematoma was fully evacuated and he began closing, Daniel spoke one last time. There's no light here. Just sound. Then silence. His EEG flickered back to life, slow waves, then normal anesthesia patterns. Dr. Nand gasped. He's back. We finished the closure in absolute silence. Daniel's vitals remained stable, but no one in that operating room was the same after that night. When I visited Daniel in recovery the next morning, he was sitting up in bed, pale but alert. Morning, Miss Rhodes, he said with a faint smile. You were in the OR last night, right? Yes. How are you feeling? He hesitated. Fine, I guess. But I had the strangest dream. What kind of dream? I asked. I saw you all working on me, he said quietly. But I wasn't in my body. I was everywhere. I could see the instruments, the monitors. I could hear you talking. I even knew what Dr. Harland was about to do before he did it. My chest tightened. Do you remember speaking to us? He frowned. No, I don't think I said anything. I just watched. What do you remember most clearly? Daniel paused, staring past me. The sound. It was like everything in the room had a heartbeat. Even the machines. That was the beginning of the end for me. I'd seen patients crash, flatline, even wake up during surgery before, but never something like this. Never a case where a silent brain could still think, perceive, and speak without measurable activity. Over the next several weeks, we ran every test imaginable, repeat MRIs, CTs, EEGs. Every result came back normal. No hypoxic injury, no residual deficits, nothing to explain what had happened. Dr. Harland submitted a report to the hospital's ethics board. Dr. Nand began consulting with neurologists at the University of Colorado, searching for any precedent. There were none. For me, sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Daniel's voice again. Don't stop. I'm still here. It wasn't just a voice. It was a reminder that our understanding of the brain, of consciousness, might only scratch the surface of something far larger. In the weeks that followed Daniel's surgery, none of us spoke openly about what had happened that night, but it lingered in every silence between cases. The surgical team moved like ghosts through the halls of Mountain View General, each of us pretending to be fine. We weren't. Dr. Harland buried himself in work, taking on double shifts and avoiding questions. Dr. Nand stopped joining us for coffee between surgeries. She started carrying a small notepad in her lab coat, scribbling things during operations like she was afraid of forgetting. I caught one glimpse of her notes once, by accident. She had written the words, "No measurable brain activity is not equal to unconsciousness." That sentence haunted me. Daniel's recovery was physically perfect. His post-op CT showed no residual bleeding, no ischemic injury, no swelling. His vitals were textbook normal, his neurological exam completely intact. But every time I saw him during rounds, I couldn't look at him without hearing his voice from that sterile operating room. Don't stop. I'm still here. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it had been an auditory hallucination from exhaustion. Maybe there was a feedback loop in the intercom system. But then the reports came back from neurophysiology confirming that Daniel's EEG had, in fact, been flatlined during the exact period when he was speaking to us. He had been neurologically silent, not just unconscious, but showing zero cortical or subcortical activity. And yet, he was aware. 2 weeks later, Mountain View General's ethics board convened an internal review. I was called in to give my account. The conference room was cold and too bright, the kind of place designed to drain emotion out of people. Across the table sat a panel of physicians and administrators, Dr. Harland, Dr. Nand, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pennington, and 2 neurologists flown in from the University of Colorado. Miss Rhodes, Dr. Pennington began, please describe what you personally observed during the procedure. I repeated the facts carefully, sticking to clinical language. Loss of EEG activity, patient under neuromuscular blockade, spontaneous speech without measurable brain function. But when I said the words, he told us not to stop. The room fell utterly silent. The neurologist to my left, Dr. Kwan, tapped his pen against the table. Miss Rhodes, you're certain you heard a voice coming from the patient's body? Yes, doctor. All of us did. Was there any possibility of mechanical interference, audio distortion, or vent malfunction? No, sir. We checked. Everything was functioning normally. And the EEG? Flatline for approximately 28 minutes. Dr. Kwan leaned back, frowning. Medically speaking, that's impossible. I nodded. I know. That's why we're all here. About a month later, Dr. Nand invited me to assist her in a controlled follow-up with Daniel. It wasn't an official hospital experiment, more like her attempt to understand what had happened. She scheduled it in a neuromonitoring room, equipped with high-resolution EEG, functional near-infrared spectroscopy, and auditory response trackers. Daniel agreed voluntarily, curious rather than afraid. When I entered the room, he smiled faintly. Back for round 2, Miss Rhodes? Something like that, I said, trying to sound calm. Dr. Nand explained the test. Daniel, we're going to place sensors to measure brain activity while you rest. You might feel mild tingling from the electrical gel, but nothing painful. Daniel nodded. Whatever helps figure this out. She dimmed the lights and started baseline recording. His brainwaves were normal, strong alpha and beta rhythms, textbook patterns for a healthy adult. Then, halfway through the session, something unexpected happened. The EEG began to synchronize, not fade, not spike, but form perfect geometric symmetry across all channels, something I'd never seen. Every region of his brain seemed to oscillate in perfect phase, like a single frequency resonating through 100 billion neurons. "What's happening?" I whispered. "I don't know," said Dr. Nand. "He's not asleep, not awake. He's aligned." Daniel's voice came softly through the monitor mic. "It's happening again." We both froze. "What's happening again?" she asked. "I'm outside again." Daniel described his state as if it were familiar. He said he could see the monitors, the electrodes, and even the hallway beyond the closed door. His voice was calm and detached, echoing slightly through the room speakers. "Can you see us?" I asked. "Yes." Dr. Nand is standing to my right. "You're behind her, by the instrument tray." I looked down at my position. He was right. Then he said something that chilled me. "There's someone else here." Dr. Nand blinked. "Someone else?" "Yes." Standing near the door. "A man in scrubs. But he isn't moving." I turned instinctively. There was no one there. Daniel continued, describing the figure in detail. "He's wearing our hospital badge. The tag says Harland. But he looks wrong. Like a reflection that isn't quite lined up." Dr. Nand whispered, "Dr. Harland isn't on shift today." Then, as abruptly as it began, the synchronized EEG collapsed back into normal rhythm. Daniel opened his eyes, blinking rapidly. Did it happen again? Neither of us could answer. When we reviewed the EEG data, the patterns didn't match anything in medical literature. There were no seizure markers, no hypoxia, no electrical artifact. The signal coherence suggested that his neural networks had entered a state of complete, synchronized resonance, something closer to a tuned frequency than ordinary consciousness. Dr. Nand wrote a confidential report. She never published it. 2 weeks later, she was granted indefinite research leave. I heard she'd gone to collaborate with a cognitive neuroscience team in Zurich studying near-death phenomena. That left me and Dr. Harland. He cornered me one evening after a late operation. "Emily, don't discuss that case with anyone else." "I wasn't planning to," I said. He hesitated, then lowered his voice. "Before the board sealed the case file, I reviewed the OR recordings. Do you know what I heard?" I shook my head. He leaned closer. His voice didn't come through the ceiling mic. It didn't come from any audio source in the room. The sound registered directly inside the capture frequency of the EEG leads. I stared at him. "You're saying his brain was transmitting speech after it flatlined?" "I'm saying we recorded words from an organ that wasn't functioning." After that night, I couldn't stay in surgery. Every time I walked into an operating room, I felt like someone was watching from above, like some remnant of Daniel's awareness was still there, observing. I tried to take time off, but I started hearing things during cases. Whispers that sounded like background hum, syllables buried under the rhythm of the ventilators. I'd check the monitors. Nothing. One afternoon, during a routine appendectomy, the anesthesia monitor flickered for a second and displayed a single word where the EEG data usually appeared. "Listen." I froze. No one else saw it. That night, I drafted my resignation letter. 2 months later, I visited Daniel one last time before I left the hospital. He'd returned to light work at the fire department and seemed healthy. "How have you been feeling?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "Different. It's hard to explain. I feel like part of me didn't come back all the way." "What do you mean?" He looked out the window, the mountains reflecting in his eyes. "Sometimes when I close my eyes, I can still see the operating room. Not from my body, from the ceiling. Everything frozen, everyone holding their breath. And sometimes," he hesitated, "sometimes I still hear you." I left Mountain View General in May 2024. I now work at a small outpatient clinic in Boulder. No ORs, no ventilators, no EEG monitors. But the silence here doesn't comfort me. Because now I understand something that I never wanted to believe. Consciousness doesn't turn off when the brain does. It just changes channels. Whatever happened to Daniel Ruiz that night, it wasn't survival, it was transmission. And sometimes, late at night, when the clinic is empty and the machines hum quietly in standby mode, I hear it again, faint, rhythmic, familiar. A whisper beneath the static. Don't stop. I'm still here.